everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I attempt to learn about myself through the eyes of others as they assess how I am by what I am. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday. Serendipitous Saturday. Have I used serendipity before? I don't know. I can't remember. I have a limited vocabulary, so, just a burden I have to bear. Yes, hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. For those of you in the United States who have Monday off, hope you enjoy your day off. If you don't have the day off, you have my sympathies. But here we are again. What do we have today? Well, we're going to learn something today. At least that's the promise of the show. Hopefully. I'm curious to find out the theory behind it. Before we get there, it's not a theory as to who's here with me, because that would be Jaeger Pony, hello. Kay Scholl, hello. Absolutely Degenerate, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Ivor Singatorix, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. That one servant of Satania, hello. Functional, hello. Brittany Holland, hello. Mr. E, hello. Dark Lyle, hello. Jordan Herbert, hello. Spittlebuggies, hello. You're Ridiculous Lunatic, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Zalbla, hello. And the chat jumped because, of course, it does. Slapper360, hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Ecto Merc, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. L Wolf, hello. Chaos X, hello. Zeke Vice, hello. Red Chaos Tree, hello. Big Assassin 80, hello. Megan Ring, hello. Grillin Pirate Pete, hello. Jordan 250, hello. Red V7, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Eric Grunstadter, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. The Other Choice, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. Sabian, the thing and the jump and the stuff. Sabian 187, hello. Hate Camel, hello. Oh, and I just can't help the jumping. Lexi Mads, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. Sardi, hello. Viror of Ashmedai, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Manic, thank you so much for the Dogcat Fox. Hiya. Hiya, Dogcat Fox. Strummodler, hello. Indiana Prebula. Something. Professor Chaos, hello. Jose Chacon, hello. Chacon? No Name, hello. Morphic States, hello. Bigrit, hello. Ophelia, the Happy Red Panda, hello. All right, everyone. Oh, thank you, Point Curation, for the other Dogcat Fox. We're number one. We're number one. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We are number one. And thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Redneck Ram, hello. Luke Skywalker 2, hello. All right, everyone, get your bingo cards ready. Link is in the description. So what is today's wonderful, wonderful topic? Well, it is gender inequality and the case for collegiate accountability. So I derive from that title that the inequality in gender outcomes is the fault of the college. Now, to what extent and in what context, I don't know. So we're going to find out together. Get your bingo card ready. As always, I will start out with a few seconds to do a sound test. If you guys can hear this, let me know. If not, certainly let me know. Just over 10 minutes, so about the midway of TEDx Talks as they go. And let us find out how the colleges are accountable for gender inequality.
This story begins with a woman named Anne.
This story begins with a woman named Anne. You guys all hear that? Thank you, Chaos X, for the super lemon and tiny lime or pear. Is it a pear or is it a lime? I like to say, whenever I see a lemon, I always assume a little green thing next to it must be a lime. Chicago Mike, a little quiet. Yeah, this one I had to adjust the sound a bit because the first half it starts out kind of quiet and then it gets louder, and then halfway through the volume just jumps. So I had to find a way to even it out. So it's going to get better as we go, but I couldn't do too much manipulation without screwing it all up. So that's just the fault of the original recording. I did the best that I could. So you might have to turn up your volume a little bit for the first little bit, but we'll get there. All right.
Buff. She's a captain in the United States Public Health Service.
Okay.
She's a medical doctor by training.
Okay.
and she's proudly served this country for 20 plus years.
All right.
This woman is my mother.
Aw.
Now, as an epidemiologist for the Center for Disease Control,
Mhm.
my mother has run disease prevention programs across the world, taking on the likes of malaria, polio, and tuberculosis.
Well, at least in the reference of things, and I know it always sounds very sort of platitude, but I always mean it when I say, I thank her for her service. It's very selfless of her, and it's nice to have someone who's a trained professional doing good work around the world. Thank you, the Redneck Ram. Just got done listening to the crazy man with the stories that went nowhere, and I've got to ask, did you suffer any side effects? Because I think I did. I don't drink, but after that I might. The crazy man with the stories that went nowhere. Well, Redneck, I hate to tell you this. You'll have to be more specific. I've watched several TEDx's that could fall under that category and description. But do I suffer any ill effects? No. My sanity is maintained both through my own commentary and the support of all of you as we proceed. That's how I keep the anchor of my sanity well suited away from drifting into the ocean. So, all right. So his mother sounds like a great person. I'm very glad to hear that.
I don't know how many people her work has impacted, but what I do know is that the world is a better place with
That's
her
good.
in it.
I agree.
My mom tells this story
Mhm.
when we were living in Egypt. And yes, I know I said living in Egypt casually.
Yes, you did. All right, going to the bingo card. We were going to circle free space and then childhood or family anecdote. Got that squared away. So we got 2 on the board already, guys. Let's see where this takes us.
But that's the reality when your mom's job is fighting diseases.
Yes.
So she was headed into a meeting with the CDC team there.
Okay.
And they went into this conference room and they were sitting at this long table.
Okay.
And at the head of the table sat her boss,
Uh-huh.
an older Egyptian man.
Okay.
And so right before they were about to get started,
Yes.
her boss, Dr. Ali,
Uh-huh.
said to her, Dr. Buff, you'll be taking the minutes. And my mom replied, Dr. Ali, you have a full-time secretary who you hired for that purpose. If you'd like us to have the minutes for the meeting, you can have your secretary take them.
Aha. Well, good for your mother. Yeah. Okay. So an Egyptian official treated your mother like a functionary. I wonder if there's some, I don't know, some cultural difference there that might explain that. Not justify it, mind you, but explain it.
And as my mom describes it, there was this dead silence in the room, and she and Dr. Ali locked eyes for what seemed an eternity.
Uh-huh. And it all sounds explicable to me. Like I say, not agreeable, but given the circumstances, I can see that. Thank you, Ebony Williams, for the Dogcat Fox. Hiya. Hiya, Dogcat Fox.
Suffice to say, my mother did not take the minutes for this meeting.
Well, good for her.
But I share the story as it is one that embodies a deeper and more realistic truth about our world.
A deeper and more realistic truth about our world. I'm getting myself ready here. All right. What is this grand revelation?
And that is that the struggle for men to treat women and for men to treat anyone not a man as their equal continues.
In Egypt or in general? Because if you're going to leave out the cultural differences between Egyptian culture and westernized American culture, you're leaving out a big part. And you might be leaving out vital context. We'll see how far we go into this.
And that this was never a women's problem, but rather a man's.
Yes. Yes. All right. Men and women treat each other differently. Women are on the low end of the stick as far as things are concerned. In Egypt, right? I mean, you're still talking about Egypt, aren't you? Or are you just talking, as Dr. Ali exemplifies, all men everywhere around the world? Is that it? Okay.
When I think about this question of equality
Uh-huh.
and that which results because we haven't yet achieved it, I envision it a little like this.
Okay.
Have men been taught how to treat women?
No, they haven't. Men have never been taught how to treat women. Men are never taught to not hit girls. Men are never taught to protect the weaker amongst them. It just, no, not really. No, it just never happens. No. Were you taught how to treat women? How should one treat women? What exactly is the standard? I'm curious about.
And have men been taught about the systemic biases that women encounter every day?
Systemic biases. Systemic. Going to the bingo card. Systemic institutional. All right. Now, he says systemic biases. He didn't say unconscious bias. So that might be implied as we proceed, but I'm not circling unconscious bias just yet. We might get there. All right. So have men been taught how to treat women? Well, if the answer was yes, I don't think our speaker would be on the stage. So I'm assuming the answer is no. And have men been taught about the systemic biases that women encounter every day? Well, I would assume the answer is no. Otherwise, our speaker would not be on the stage. So, spoiler alert. And then I have to hit the button.
And so if the answer is no
Uh-huh.
to either of these questions, then we find ourselves reflecting upon the world in which we live.
What do you mean we, white man? This is your presentation.
Men talking over women.
Men talking over women? Oh my God, yes, we almost like lean back, lean away, disengage. Always defer, right? That's equality, guys. Deferring to one gender versus your own or something.
Men brushing women's opinions off.
Brushing women's opinion. Well, I mean, what if it's a dumb opinion? And has a woman ever brushed off a man's opinion? Does that never happen? Or let me put it more simply. Do people sometimes brush off other people's opinions if they don't care to listen to them, whether that's justified or not? Do human beings do these things, or is it explicitly a gendered issue? Just curious.
Men keeping women from positions of leadership.
Men keeping women from positions of leadership because men have all the power to decide whether women achieve positions of leadership. That's the implication, right? Women are always at the behest of men to advance in their lives. Okay.
Men not paying women the same.
Men not paying women the same. Oh my gosh, do we have wage gap? We haven't circled wage gap in a long time. I'm circling wage gap on the bingo card. All right. And you know what? I have to say that first slide, I forgot to do this. That was a 2-item list. We have a list. Boy, oh boy, guys, we are really close. I mean, now we could have a bingo very shortly here because he's already left out some vital context by sort of extrapolating what happened with his mother to everybody because an Egyptian official treated her like a subservient because she's a woman, presumably. And I have a feeling that he's going to have to confess some kind of internal flaw of his own since he is a man. So we could have a bingo across from the wage gap over very shortly. Here we go.
Men mistreating women, men harassing women, men sexually assaulting women, men raping women.
Right. And all of those things are only capable by men towards women, not men towards men or women towards women or women towards men. No, it's all one direction. And no, I'm not going to sing any songs.
The world in which we live.
Yes, the world in which we live. Everywhere in the world, everybody, men, all of them act this way all the time, forever.
A lot of the times we leave our men to pick up on the soft norms of society instead of sitting them down and telling them to their face how it is. You're going to sit the men down and tell them how it is. Who are you to do that, man? That they should treat women and what it is that women go through.
Right. Okay. When do we get to the part where we sit women down and tell them how it is about how to treat men and what men go through? Or are we not talking about gender equality?
The other day,
Yeah.
I was walking between class
Mhm.
and I hear the words, "It's 2020.
Ah,
Why are men such trash?"
well, that sounds all sorts of respectful, doesn't it? I don't know. Why are men such trash? Do tell. I'm curious to know. And no, it's not because I haven't picked up my room lately. Maybe.
Good question.
Is it a good question? Is it really a good question? All right. And the audience is laughing. Why are men such trash? I wonder what would happen if you said, why are women such trash? Would the audience still be laughing, you think? You think there'd be equality in response time there?
It's 2020.
It's the current year, guys. Why are men such trash? Shouldn't they be more advanced by now? They're terrible, aren't they?
This is a phrase I generally hear when people are fed up with the status quo of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And men are trash. This is a phrase I generally hear when women are commiserating over some experience where men and trash in the same sentence is understandable.
Oh, it's understandable. Men as a demographic are just trash. Okay, all right. Thank you, Matt Barnes. My prediction is an early bingo, then he'll gas out. I'd be shocked to have multiple bingo winners in a week's time. Well, I mean, I can't put it past any individual TEDXcellence because, I grabbed these relatively at random from different times. So who knows? We could have another octo bingo. We could have a double bingo. Who knows? Time will tell. Thank you. This is Kyle. I wonder what the speaker would think if you replace the word men with words like black or Muslim, just as an example. All demographics are monoliths. All people of a particular category all think alike, act alike, behave alike, and so on. So obviously, keep this in mind, everyone. Every time he's talking about men, he's talking about himself. Now, do you think he knows that? And if he does, do you think he minds?
However, what grounded this comment in my mind was not that but a week earlier I had had two distinct conversations with college women.
You had two conversations with college women? Oh boy, how did those go? Did they start off with, "Hey, you want to go out and get some coffee?" And them saying, "Hell no"? Oh, am I making assumptions? I'm sorry.
Both of whom are really good friends of mine, about how they had been mistreated by college men.
How they had been mistreated by college men or individual people? Like all college men came along and did the same thing to them? Or are they talking about individual people?
So at the end of one of these conversations, my friend looks at me and she says, "Matt, I don't know who it falls to teach men how they should treat women. But what I do know is that we can't just expect individual men to change."
We can't expect individual men to change. Well, now isn't that a dire assessment of our society? Well, individual men just aren't going to change. So we need to assume the worst of all men then. Is that what I'm getting? I mean, I'm acting a little dumb here because we've basically been told that already, but that's where this is taking us, correct? All men must be assumed to be flawed, therefore they must all be corrected because we can't trust them not to behave in the way that we expect them to. Is that where we're going? So I'm also assuming, given the title of the presentation, this is where we're moving in towards holding colleges accountable for the behavior of all men under their watch.
And so in the days that followed, all I could help but to hear was her voice saying, we can't just expect individual men to change.
And your solution to this problem is?
Now I'm going to pivot slightly, but I want you to stay with me.
I have no choice. I'm in the audience and I'm not going anywhere. So how could I do otherwise?
In 2017, the Harvard Business Review conducted this fascinating study.
Mm-hmm.
The premise of the study
Yes.
was that they were trying to determine whether gender differences in behavior drive gender differences in outcomes.
Whether gender differences in behavior drive gender differences in outcomes. I would say the answer would be yes, because on average, men behave differently than women. Therefore, on average, the outcomes of men and women in life, in business, and education, and so on, are going to be different. One prime example, which I am more than happy to bring up, even though it's misinterpreted oftentimes, is the differential in pay, or earnings, I should say. Even I sometimes trip that up because I've had it drilled in my head so many times. The earnings averages between men and women working full-time year-round. And there's a differential there of about, was it 30%, 15%, something like that? Now, is that the outcome because they are different genders, or the outcome of different choices in what jobs to take, what education to pursue, how many hours to work, and so on? Whether to raise a family versus focusing on career, etc. That's my guess. I don't know. What did the Harvard Business Review find out?
At this large multinational firm.
Okay.
So in the study, they gave 100 individuals in the company sociometric badges, able to record communication patterns, proximity to other badges, and the metadata of speech.
That sounds way high tech, even for 2017, but the metadata of speech. You know, speech is somewhat subjective. How do you metadata speech for an objective empirical study? And only among 100 people in a single company? This is supposed to reflect society at large? Is that what I'm to understand?
So who talks with whom, where people communicate, and who dominates these conversations. And then Harvard's team got together and they formed a few hypotheses about why.
Who dominates these conversations? I would honestly be curious to find out how they effectively measured that. I mean, if you go into a boardroom and you have someone giving a presentation and you've got a whole bunch of people there and they're in the proximity of that one person and that person is giving the presentation, they're going to be dominating, quote unquote, the conversation, but not because necessarily they're a power monger or something, but just because that's the interaction. I'm getting ready to circle leaves out vital context. Oh boy, I think we might hit a bingo here soon.
There were different rates of promotion between men and women.
Uh-huh.
And they came up with, well, maybe women had fewer mentors, less face time with managers, or were not as proactive as men in talking to senior leadership. But what they ended up finding was that none of their hypotheses were true.
None of them were true at all? Oh, okay. So what was the truth? What was the reality of this situation? And why are you smiling about it, sort of?
The final analysis
suggested
that the actual difference...
Suggested? Not showed. Suggested. Got it.
And promotion rates between men and women at this company was due not to women's behavior, but rather to how they were treated by the men who could promote them.
Only men had the power to promote people. I don't know what company it is. I don't know what the circumstances are, but there were no female managers. There were no female decision makers in this company at all. Only men. I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. But okay, so women were powerless to the men in charge because the men were sexist? Are you going to tell us that they were sexist? Are you going to tell us that the study showed the men were sexist? Or are we going for the God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis, wherein demographic A and demographic B have a differential, and because they are gendered, the gap between them is obviously sexism. So tell us explicitly that the male managers were sexist. You are going to do that, yes? You're not going to leave it to chance or assumption?
Bias, a word used to describe when two groups of people act identically but are treated differently. Their answer was bias.
Well, that's close enough for me. I'm going to circle unconscious bias. So their answer was bias. Their answer was mind reading. I'm getting ready to circle mind reading assumes motives too, because so far he's made a lot of assumptions. Hasn't told us that they know for a fact. Did they interview these male managers to try to detect whether or not they were biased? Did they assess two different applicants with the exact same qualifications and they always went for the man? Is that, are you going to bring that up or something to that effect? Because otherwise you know what? I have a feeling he's not. I'll take it back if I'm wrong. I'm circling leaves out vital context. And I'm also going to circle mind reading assumes motives, because if nothing else, in just saying men need to do better, men need to learn this, that, and the other, he's making some grand assumptions about people without a whole lot of backing.
And so why is it?
I don't know.
That I share my friend's experience with college men and this Harvard study?
To make yourself look like a hero?
Well, because it is those college men that go on to perpetuate a world that leaves my friend wondering how men become good men.
Wow. Now that is a dire assessment. How do men become good men? Because all men obviously start off terrible. Oh, sorry, as trash. How do men advance beyond the inherent flaw of their lowly origins to become something better than the troglodytes they simply are? I don't know. You tell me. You're on the stage. I'm waiting for that grand plan or idea that's going to cure me of my inborn wretchedness. And what about your own, by the way? Are you going to bring that up? You haven't yet. So
here, I stand in front of you,
yes,
a student in college,
an
extremely profound setting, a time in which we learn interior and exterior to the walls of our lectures, the last stop before we head out into the world, ready to make it our own. The time is now.
The time is now to what? I've been waiting for your grand solution. You have spent the last 6 minutes articulating what you say is the problem. You got 4 minutes left to give us the solution. And please, at some point, diminish yourself on the basis of your sex, because I want that bingo. I'm really looking at that square, and I'm waiting for it.
I dream of a world where our colleges become centers of social innovation in how they challenge their men to the practice of gender equity each and every day.
Equity, circling equity. Boy, oh boy. Holy cow. All right, equity is circled. I'm going to back up slightly because I did cut him off.
Dream of a world where our colleges become centers of social innovation in how they challenge their men to the practice of gender equity each and every day.
Oh my
gosh. If we set expectations now, then we change culture for all time forward. Hear me out.
I have been hearing you out. You haven't been saying much of anything. All sounds very profound. All sounds very passionate. So when do you go away from simply a goal and give us the idea?
Increasingly, colleges are enrolling freshmen prior to their arrival on campus in online modules meant to inform on drinking and sexual violence.
Okay. And this only pertains to the male freshmen? Because only men drink, only men engage in sexual violence? Is that it? Did you have to go through those modules? How did you do? In fact, have you ever done anything, I don't know, that would fall in the category of toxically masculine that you might want to tell us about? Please, I got one square left for a bingo.
And while this is of value, why not also educate on the practice of gender equitable behavior from the outset of a college career?
Gender equitable behavior. Is gender equitable behavior the behavior where I completely defer and walk on eggshells around anyone who's female? Because that's what it sounds like you're telling us from everything you've said previously. Is that equity? Is that equality? Treating women like fragile things that always need help, who are constantly vulnerable, helpless, can't stand up for themselves, and so on? Is that the kind of equality you're aiming for? Because that's what it sounds like you're aiming for.
Because if you're never told what it is that you should be, then your actions will always fall short of expectations.
Whose expectations? If I'm never told how I should be, I'll always fall short of expectations. Well, it's true. If you never tell me the rules of the game, I never have a chance of winning. So, thanks.
And we would be remiss if we left existing collegial institutions untouched. Let us mandate that college coaches lead series of ongoing discussions on every male sports team in this country.
Wait, okay, hold on. Now, this comes up so often, it's practically a trope now. Whenever we're talking about behavior or policies or things dealing with schools, what is the one element that almost never seems to come up? Parents. Why is it the college's responsibility to modify the behavior of the young adults who have already arrived? Right? I mean, am I missing something here? Why is it not the individual person's responsibility? Why does it fall upon the college to teach social norms and behavior? I mean, I understand that there's always going to be some crossover when you're talking about teachers or administrators, counselors, that kind of stuff. I get it. But at that point, they're not kids anymore, at least not by legal definition for the most part. When you've arrived at college, most of the time you are now a legal adult. You are on your own. You're responsible for yourself. Your behaviors, how you treat other people, and so on, that's all been happening the years prior you ever get to college. But now it's the college's responsibility to modify unwanted behavior. And if sexual assault's taking place on campus, I don't know. I wouldn't really call the college administrators about that. I'd call the cops. But anyway, Redneck Ram, thank you so much. The rules can't be spoken. They have to be ambiguous so they can use them against you. Yeah, as long as I don't know what it is I'm supposed to do, the person who says what I'm supposed to do can always tell me I'm not doing enough. And it's a never-ending journey to try to become a more perfect person, according to them.
To foster in their team and among their individual men an expectation for how all women are to be treated. I was a Division I athlete, and I'll tell you that it isn't enough simply to tell men not to take advantage of women.
Okay, and you know this from personal experience?
That bar is too low.
So you have engaged in these behaviors before? Is that the implication here?
And in this same vein, let us empower our Greek life and mandate that to hold a Panhellenic charter, that fraternities be actively engaged in how discussions of gender equitable behavior becomes a norm and not some affront to the boys. Because being told you shouldn't take a woman home when she can't walk, that's not it either.
Wow. I really have to wonder, I'm not making any accusations unless he brings something up. Oftentimes when I see people this passionate about talking about the moral correctness of what other people should be doing, it oftentimes feels like it's kind of a self-confession of bad behavior in the past. They're making up for something. They're giving some kind of penance, maybe. I don't know. I always get suspicious. I'm also really wanting him to say something very direct so I can circle that last square.
And if you hear in your minds it's these things we already do, well, then I challenge. Why is it that women describe athlete and fraternity parties as lion dens?
Because men have testosterone. They are classically more aggressive than women on average. When you get alcohol and partying involved with people who are energetic or competitive by nature, especially in sports and so on, you're going to have a rowdy crowd a lot of the time, just on the basis of the personalities. Take that same mentality or that same set of circumstances, but do it with the chess club. You know, do it with a role-playing game group or something. You have some type A and or ultra competitive personalities all gathered in a room together, trying to one-up one another, show off, impress. Yeah, okay. I can see how that would become a much more, let's say, raucous environment than others. Is that inherently evil? Or are we wanting to talk about individual choices made by individual people and not just cast a wide swath across all men who happen to be football players as immediately suspected rapists?
Why is it that women go out in groups fearful to go out on their own? Why is it?
Because the buddy system is always a good idea, no matter who you are. Because obviously a man going out alone at night is never in any danger. Right? Is that what I'm supposed to be hearing here? Okay.
That every woman has some story of getting treated like shit.
And no man has any stories of ever being treated like shit by a woman. Oh, sorry, like trash. It's never happened. Men are indemnified from negative experiences either from or involving women ever, forever. It's all women. Women are all the victims, always, all the time. Men are never the victims. Men are always the aggressors. Yeah, women need to be protected. And you know what? They are. There are special laws and policies that favor women a lot of the time. And it all comes down to circumstance, but oftentimes they'll lean more towards giving a woman a chance versus a man. Tell you what, speaker, just as an example, take a look at the sentencing differentials, since you're big into differentials on the basis of gender, the sentencing differentials between a female educator who rapes a student and a male educator who rapes a student. You want to talk about equality of outcomes? Tell me about that. Tell me about, I don't know, the draft. And on and on and on. Are there no systemic inequalities in gender that favor women versus men? At all? Ever?
When did we allow these realities to become our normality? I fear we're a whole lot better.
How are you immune? Why should I not look upon you, someone who has already admitted that he's an athlete, is obviously a man, goes to college? Why should I not look upon you as a potential abuser, a potential rapist? Why should I not, based on your own assessment of reality, convince me that you are not a villain?
It would also seem relevant to say that our college faculties need to do a better job resembling their student bodies.
Oh, resembling. Okay, so how should colleges hire faculty members now? On what basis should they filter who they select to work at a college? Tell me, oh, tell me true.
because if it is equal opportunities they preach, it is equal opportunities they should practice.
Are you talking about opportunities or outcomes? Because if you're saying you want the faculty to quote unquote resemble the student body, then you're talking about outcomes, not opportunities. You're talking about filtering people on the basis of whatever you mean. Gender, I assume. So you want there to be gender-based hiring quotas at colleges? You want colleges to hire people on the basis of their genitals? Is that what I am to understand? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying.
And to ensure from here on out and every day forward that our colleges remain committed to their women, let us convene bodies made up of every walk of life on campus for the sole purpose of deliberating what traditional institution need topple next.
Oh, okay. Word salad. Different sections of that entire soliloquy there were just absolute gobbledygook. So word salad, circling that one.
Change becomes imminent when accountability comes knocking.
Thank you, Lancelot 652. Because he's the good guy, a male feminist scribe, he'd never endanger a woman, not like we don't have a ton of evidence against that idea. I have no idea what this guy's history is. He hasn't barely even talked about it, but I always get suspicious. And you know, this is a character flaw of my own after watching so many presentations, whether we're talking about TEDx or in general, of that it's the notion of methinks thou doth protest too much. And the fact that he hasn't talked about himself, that he hasn't included himself in this or something, I don't know. It's just, again, I'm a suspicious person when it comes to this kind of thing. So I'm kind of on the same page as you, Lancelot. But let's continue. We only got about a minute left or so.
To William and Mary and every college in this country.
Uh-oh. Every college in this country. All right, what's the big message?
Commit yourselves to revolutionizing what has long been an unequal status quo, and realize that while the solutions are many, you hold in your hands an awesome opportunity to educate the future of tomorrow in a way that reaches beyond that which it has ever been.
Oh my God.
In the past.
Wow.
When I think about these things,
I
think about my mother.
Yes.
And I think about her strength as she challenged Dr. Ali to see her as equal.
But how could she? I mean, she's perpetually a victim. She had no power. She had no chance. The men in her life, especially Dr. Ali, wasn't going to change. So how could she hope to have succeeded? She's inherently vulnerable all the time. Right?
But that's just it, isn't it?
What?
She shouldn't have to. Women shouldn't have to.
Women shouldn't have to stand up for themselves. The red carpet should just be rolled out for them because they are women.
To colleges and their men, the time is now. Gender equality takes us to. Thank you.
Really? A standing ovation. Hashtag us too. Us too. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase, because I'd never heard of hashtag us too before. And you know what, guys? I said guys, I know it's a gendered term. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm willing to be corrected, I do believe that in the course of that talk and him talking about women, there was some benevolent condescension there. I would say that there was some benevolent condescension. And so with that, guys, I have a brand new element to introduce to the series on the occasion where we actually fill up a row of one kind or another on the bingo card?
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Yes, everyone, we have a bingo. We might have a second bingo here in a moment, but we have at least one. From the B diagonally down to the O, we have a bingo. But in an attempt to be more complete, okay, so real quick note, that little bit there, that was a suggestion made to me by Kurt Metzger, the comedian whose podcast I was on the other day and recorded for. In the course of our conversation, he floated the idea of the line from Inglourious Bastards where the character that Christoph Waltz plays says, "Ooh, bingo." And I was like, that's a good idea. So all credit to Kurt Metzger for the idea. Put that in there, and I'm going to use that from now on when we hit a bingo. But let's go over the bingo card itself real quick and see what we haven't circled so far and see if anything should be added. Contradicts own point or argument. Not inherently. Nothing there. I mean, his argument was pretty lackadaisical to begin with, but there wasn't an inherent contradiction per se. Well, I mean, his mother might stand as a contradiction to his own argument because she achieved everything that she achieved and ran into one jerk colonel or something in Egypt, and suddenly then she kept proving that the rule he was saying wasn't actually true. So do you think his mother contradicts his own argument? I'll leave that up to you guys. White supremacy, he never mentioned. Takes credit for something done or experienced by others in their demographic. He didn't take credit for anything. And in fact, he pointedly kind of didn't even include himself in college men as far as being evildoers. He very specifically didn't make any reference to himself or his own behavior. Marginalization, never said it. Self-vilification or wretchedness, I kept waiting for it. And I suppose you could infer certain things, but he never did. He never did. Unless I missed something, he never did. Weightless example, he didn't give many examples. The one he did, the study at that one business, was so... it was so absent details. Maybe it counts as a weightless example. I don't know. It's toxic. He never used the word. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. No, he had a reason. I mean, his entire talk was based around gender. So anytime he brought up sex, it was on point. Whether it was actually convincing is a different question. Anecdote that probably never happened. I could believe everything he said about his mother's experience. His conversation with his friend was vague enough that I don't have any reason not to believe it. So I can't really feel justified in circling that one. Privilege, never talked about privilege specifically. I'm not even sure I could say that he got within definitions range of it. Plays victim, he never really played victim of himself. Feminism, he never said the word. Patriarchy, I mean, he kind of went there, never used the phrase, but talked about there was all the men making the decisions. So yeah, I'm going to circle patriarchy on aggregate, if not in actual articulation. All right, so contradicts own argument. That's the one that I'm still kind of sitting on. Do you guys think that his mother counted as a contradiction to his own argument? Let's see. Zeke Weiss says, yeah, his mother would contradict the point. Lexi says, I say yes. Let's see. Lexi says, I think I circled more than you, Scribe. Well, that's entirely your prerogative. I mean, let's see. Yeah, he puts the... Yeah, I think the example of his mother stood in stark contrast to the whole point. How did his mother advance? How did she do any of that? How did she stand up to that guy in his own country, etc., if she was powerless and vulnerable and wasn't able to advance because of men and so on and so forth? Yeah, okay. It doesn't really change anything about any bingos, but... So the only other bingo opportunities we have, at least at one square, would be self-vilification or wretchedness. Okay, there was a point at which he did include himself in the varsity athletes kind of things. I should know from being in the varsity thing how athletes treat women. Now, was he talking as a witness or was he talking as a participant? He didn't specify. That's the only reason I'm sitting iffy on that one. So if you guys have a really good argument otherwise, I'm really, really hesitating on circling self-vilification. So what do you guys think? I'm going to go over to the chat now. Let me actually display the bingo card so all of you can see what I'm seeing now that I have a working version of it. Okay, there you go. You should be able to see that now. So that's what I've got. Over to the chat. Shadow Sonata. He heavily implied marginalization related to feminism and wage gap. I got to be more. I got to be a bit more strict on that one. The words or phrases have to be used. I can only extrapolate so far. He talked about differences in pay and employment, so that's wage gap kind of stuff. Feminism. Again, I'd be stretching. He talked about the superiority of men controlling women's outcomes and so on. So I can go for patriarchy there. Pushing towards feminism, maybe. Frosted Glass, you should also add Leslie Nielsen saying bingo in the first Naked Gun where he finds a bingo card. Oh, there's an idea. Also, Frosted, just so you know, and you'll see this on the podcast if you listen to it. When the bingo card came up and was presented on the channel, I made sure to credit you by name for the original version. So just want to let you know that. Look for that when the time comes. I don't know how they're going to edit it because we went for almost 3 hours. So it's possible that different things might be left out. So I don't know, but by the time you see it, hopefully it'll still be there. Let's see. Faithless self-vilifies in action by being a male. Oh, gosh. I don't know. Okay. All right, guys. All right. I'm on the fence, honestly. So now, everyone be objective for a moment. I know it's rough. Given the speaker's gender, and specifically given his reference to being an athlete and saying, I know from experience, or I know from, did he say experience? I think he said experience. Does that qualify as self-vilification / wretchedness? If you honestly think so, if you honestly can say that there's enough there to say that, put a 1 in the chat. If you're not sure, put a 2. You can be on the fence, not just you're an outright no, but if you're on the fence or a no, put a 2. So 1 or 2. Yes or no, not enough information is the 2 thing. I got a 1, got a 1, got a 1. I got a 2. Chicago Mike 1, 1, 1, 1, 4 says check your logic. 3 says Brian Wilson. Brad Young says if it doesn't, it's damn close. Oh boy. Okay, not going to detail demonstrate shame. Mr. E, that's actually not a bad assessment. Okay, you know what? Like I said, I was teetering. But I will circle self-vilification, wretchedness. Let me update the card here. There we go, guys. And with that, we have...
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
All right, guys. So a double bingo show. I'm not going to entertain much else because I think that's about as complete as we're going to get. Wowie, wow, wow, says Dogcat Fox. So maybe not the most earth-shattering talk ever, but okay, so how successful was his talk? Not very. If the point was to make a case, which is actually in the title, make a case for collegiate accountability in gender inequality, he never really told us what the plan was. The only actionable thing I can think of that he brought up was that the colleges should work to see that the faculty resemble the student body, which can, to my mind, only mean hire people on the basis of gender to make sure there's some kind of 50-50 or I guess, proportional resemblance in the faculty population versus the demographics of the college. That's the only thing I can take from it. Aside from that, I don't know that he ever got specific about what colleges are supposed to do, why it's the college's responsibility. I guess he did mention that there were like some pre-registration modules that freshmen had to complete on drinking and sexual violence. He didn't really detail those. But aside from some pre-filter testing or something, like, are you a moral enough person to join our college or something? But there was no plan there. So as a talk on the subject, I think it was an absolute failure. He didn't convince me of anything. He didn't give me that much information to work off of. It was mostly just men are terrible, women need our help, women need our help. Colleges need to change their cultures to make sure women succeed because men are going to be mistreating them by default. Also, the Greek program needs to be policed so nobody behaves badly. I mean, I don't know what else to say. There's no part of me that says, oh no, there doesn't have to be some kind of standards or some kind of behavioral, mores on college campuses to avoid abuse or taking advantage of somebody or violence or anything else. That's just basic humanity going on there. But beyond that, he didn't tell us how. He didn't give us the answers specifically for colleges. Like, what are they supposed to do? And if you have violence taking place on college campuses, you call the police, whether it be the campus police or the real police, whichever, you call the police. You don't sit around thinking about, boy, oh boy, how can we make men not trash anymore? I guess. Anyway, I'll take a few more comments from you guys, and then we'll wrap this one up. Relatively short one today, both in the presentation itself and my and yours additions to it. Professor Chaos, he could mean he has seen it, but then he was so angry he sounded towards the end. It does sound like he's mad at someone or himself. Yeah, I don't know. There are some assumptions to be made. The absence of specificity, yeah, like Mr. E said, it does increase suspicion, not decrease it. Zach Weiss, he didn't make any real plan in the faculty part. He didn't give detail for such a thing, which again makes me kind of go, this sounds more like a grandiose virtue signal than it does like a detailed analysis of a problem and a really thought out solution or advice towards solving the problem. Makes it pretty empty. Frostigas, Scribelight, thanks for the Metzger shout out. Yes, you're very welcome. And thank you for creating the original bingo card version. It would not be what it is today if you hadn't started it off. So thank you so much. Mystery, not that this matters, making something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. That's what the entire talk was, equality. Even if it is an unsuccessful talk, he did talk about the subject in context to a poor but focused argument. So it's difficult for me to say he brought it up for no reason. The whole reason of the talk was to talk about gender. So if he'd suddenly brought up the race of someone involved and then never went back to it, or it had absolutely nothing to do with anything else he said, sure, then I'd certainly circle it. But everything about this talk was meant to be around gender/inequality, whether real, imagined, or otherwise. So I don't feel justified in circling that one. Zalbla, because it is not the college's responsibility to parent the students after they leave their parents. That's right. I mean, the line between acting inappropriately and either breaking the law or violating someone else's rights, that's where you get into like campus rules or disciplinary actions or police. Anything prior to something like that happening, men being chauvinists, men being sexist in positions where they're not actually doing anything of like administrative or authority wise, that may be, detestable. That may be, inappropriate. It's not illegal. Maybe somebody thinks it's immoral. Maybe it is. I don't know. Is it the college's responsibility to somehow thought police everything, everyone, everywhere, and decide whether or not this action is sexist versus that action isn't, and only focus on the men? Well, if that's the pitch, he missed completely, because I didn't hear anything about that. Zeo Gold. So the speaker's talk is just men need to change because women don't have to. I guess, but then, I mean, he attributed actions and behaviors and things as seemingly exclusively male jurisdiction. Whereas these things can be done by humans to other humans, regardless of the gender. Now, that's not to say that these things don't happen probably more often on college campuses if we're talking about violence or sexual assault and so on from one gender to another disproportionately. Sure. But okay, short of calling the cops when that happens, what kind of behavior therapy are you looking to implement when assuming that all men are going to do these things before they even do them? Right? I mean, a man is just a rapist waiting to happen, was what I got from that. Okay, so if you're going to do a whole minority report process on men coming into college and assume ahead of time that they're already some kind of monster just waiting to pop out of their shell, well, what's your solution? What is your proposed therapy? Just shaming them? Teaching you want to sit them down and tell them how it is. Okay, well, what does that look like? How would you do it? How did you do it to yourself since you're a man? And I have to presume that you also are a villain. These questions never get answered. So anyway, Lexi Mads, I'm getting flashbacks to that black chick at Yale yelling at a white male faculty member about how they're trying to create a home here and he needed to resign and getting snaps. I remember that. That was because of some like Halloween tweet or something way back when, wasn't it? Boy, the history that seems so long ago, but was just very near. And let's see, Faithless, college has become a nursery school. There are people who want colleges to become nursery schools. They want the focus to go away from the rigors of academic achievement and requirement and go more towards emotion and how I feel and treating me, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not so much sure if it's fueled by an actual want for social change or just a free diploma. That may be the cynic in me talking more than anything else, because thankfully I went through and got out of college, I think, just before a lot of the stuff started hitting the more liberal schools out there. And I'll tell you what, am I ever glad I dodged that bullet? I don't even know what I would do if I was the same person as I was back then, having to go through college as it seems as though they are run today. So I guess just a benefit of timing. But everyone, that's where I'm going to call this to a close. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your participation, especially, and most especially, thank you for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the new little bingo insert. Thanks again to Kurt Metzger for suggesting the Christoph Waltz line. I thought that was a great idea. If you'd like to hear more from me, or Satsu 2 Cents, or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tonight on the Ranting Monkeys channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the okay, was I saying internet or intertubes? Either way, works fine. And then after the intertube stuff, we'll take your questions and comments. But with that, guys, hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy those of you who have a 3-day weekend. And those of you that don't, I hope you have a good and peaceful Monday otherwise. And thank you very at the last minute, Manic, for the Dog Cat Fox. Bye-bye, Dog Cat Fox. Bye-bye, everybody. I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care.